afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Scan. My name is Tracey Wolfman. I am the CEO of We Care Adult Care, and I am delighted to have on my show today Jessica Reyes, who is the Director of Adult Protective Services for Monmouth and Middlesex County at Family and Children's Services, right here in Long Branch, close by. We're very excited about that. So Jessica is from Adult Protective Services, but has a lot of experience here, and I just want to share a little bit about you with our viewers rather. Jessica is the Director of Adult Protective Services in Monmouth and Middlesex County, so you cover two counties,
Yes.
with Family and Children's Service, which is a 110-year-old this year,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Private nonprofit social service agency.
Correct.
Jessica obtained her Bachelor in Science in Social Work from Siena College and a Master's in Social Work from NYU. Licensed social worker in the state of New Jersey, and she started with Family and Children's Services in 2018, and before that you worked at a child welfare agency as the assistant director.
No, I was just a supervisor
okay.
That's where I started my career, was in child welfare. It was a program for foster children with disabilities.
Okay.
And I started there as a caseworker, and then I was a supervisor, and I was there for about 5 years. And then after that, I got married and decided to move back home to New Jersey. I am a native Monmouth County person.
Love it.
Yes. So then when I came back, I was an assistant director at a mental health day program for adults with pervasive mental illness and developmental disabilities.
Okay, so leading into Adult Protective Services
Yes.
and servicing the seniors of Monmouth and Middlesex
Yes.
County, what a perfect background you have.
Yes, thank you.
So we're happy to have you on the show today, and we are going to inform our viewers, which are active adults in Monmouth and Ocean counties, how you help to protect them.
Sure.
So tell us about the APS program and the services that you provide at Family and Children's Services, one of my favorites.
Yeah, sure. So Adult Protective Services is a federally mandated program. Every state and every county must provide an adult protective service program. So in New Jersey, there's 21 counties in New Jersey. Most of those counties provide adult protective services through their own Board of Social Services or their AAA or something like that.
Tell them what the AAA is.
Sure, the AAA is the Area Agency on Aging, which most counties have one of those, which services the seniors in their area.
Correct.
But in Monmouth and Middlesex County, they have subcontracted our nonprofit Family and Children's Service to provide adult protective services for their counties. So we've been doing that in Monmouth County for about 30 years now, so pretty much since the inception of the program. And we've been doing it in Middlesex County for about 9 years.
To have that longevity for this program, and a lot of people don't know about it, so that's why I'm so happy that you're here today. We're going to tell them Adult Protective Services, one call, private, confidential, for somebody who is in need of what you do.
Right. So Adult Protective Services, we investigate allegations of abuse, neglect, and exploitation of vulnerable adults. We service adults ages 18 through whatever.
Right. People forget adults are 18.
Yes, exactly. So, but the majority of the people that we serve are the senior population.
Correct. So anyway, moving with that, so when we talk about different types of abuse, and that's what I want some of our viewers to understand today, because I don't think the world really knows what abuse consists of.
Sure.
So, we have financial, verbal.
So we break down our categories into 3 categories. There's abuse, neglect, and exploitation.
Okay.
So abuse, there's physical abuse, there can be emotional abuse, and there can be sexual abuse. So if we get a call about that, that's what we will investigate for allegations of abuse. For neglect, there's different types of neglect as well. So there's self-neglect, so somebody who is not meeting their own needs and they're incapable of doing so. There's caretaker neglect, so that might be a person who is reliant on somebody else, whether it be a family member or another type of caregiver, and they're not providing adequate care, and it's putting them in severe physical harm.
Right.
And then there could be also what we call caregiver overwhelmed, which we put into the neglect category, where there might be an extreme situation where the caregiver is totally overwhelmed and is not neglecting on purpose.
They're totally overwhelmed.
Right, they're just overwhelmed and they're not handling things appropriately. And then also we have neglect where we have intentional versus unintentional. So an intentional neglect is somebody willfully and purposefully trying to neglect somebody, as opposed to unintentional neglect might be, a senior couple who is in their late 80s, early 90s, and they used to be independent, but now due to their age and illnesses, dementia, they're unable to care for themselves. So that's something we might get involved with as well. And then there's exploitation. So if somebody is improperly using somebody else's funds, like their Social Security or pension, for their own personal gain instead of in the interest of that vulnerable adult.
Right. And, we hear so many times about these telephone scams and mail scams, and they get them on on their email.
Yeah.
But people don't realize that they need people coming into their house to help them, whether it be cleaning people, nursing care, and they're at risk.
Yeah.
And somebody has to watch out for them. So your program is fabulous that it provides this service, and people should not be afraid to call you.
Absolutely not.
Right?
Yeah.
If they feel that there's a need.
Yep. All calls are confidential. They can be made anonymously, of course, but whoever calls it is always confidential. We don't share that information with the victim who is subject to the abuse, neglect, or exploitation.
Right. Besides just trying to give the viewers some information, like Adult Protective Services, if somebody has a concern, but they're not necessarily thinking that there's abuse, but they're worried about somebody, you can direct them to other programs that Family and Children's Services may be able to provide for them, like overwhelmed caregivers. This is a tremendous need, I think, all over everyone's community and neighborhood now.
Absolutely, yeah. What we do is anybody can make a call to us, and we screen the call and see if it's appropriate for our service. If it's not appropriate for Adult Protective Services, then we will point them into the direction of services in the area or within our own agency that could better service that individual.
Okay, very good. What's the role of Adult Protective Services, the social workers that you send out to the community? So somebody makes a call, one of your social workers is going to knock on someone's door, and how does that process work? Because we don't want them to be afraid of this.
Right. So we get a call. If it's an abuse call, we have 24 business hours to go out and investigate. If it's a neglect or an exploitation, we go out within 72 business hours. And the social worker will go to the home and meet with that individual that is supposedly in need and discuss what's going on in their situation. They'll also meet with other people that are in the home, the caregivers, family members, and we make other collateral phone calls and contacts with people that are relevant to the client. So it might be their physician, or it could be their financial institution, to see, is there an abuse taking place? So it can be a little bit invasive, but we're charged with the responsibility of providing protection to people who otherwise would not be able to provide protection for themselves.
Right, and that is the big thing, that people don't know that there are agencies such as Adult Protective Services that they can call to help that senior who is at risk. It's very, it's just, I think it's probably your call load has doubled, I'm sure.
Yes.
So Family and Children's Services, APS programs, differ from traditional state-based initiatives. Now, how does that work?
So I think what the big difference is that it is a mandatory program. So once we get involved, like, it's our say-so whether or not we choose to open a case or not. But we are also run through a nonprofit, so we have a little bit more autonomy than some of the other state-based programs. Which is a nice thing for us.
Right, I'm sure.
But regardless, we still operate under the laws and statutes of Adult Protective Services for the state. We report back to the state and have to follow those regulations. But it's different in the sense that we have connections with so many other nonprofit agencies in the area and other services. And because we are from a nonprofit agency, we have programs within our own agency that we can utilize in the protection of those that we serve.
So your typical person that you go out to, just we like to give viewers how this goes. So a call is placed, somebody might knock on the door and say, we're here from Adult Protective Services. They have to let you in, or they don't have to let you in?
So That's a kind of a tough question to ask. They
Oh, I'm
should.
sorry.
They should let us in. It depends on the individual's capacity.
Right.
So what it comes down to is obviously not all seniors are feeble and unable to care for themselves and unable to make decisions. So we're not going to go in and, tell a grown adult what they can or cannot do with their life or
we
their personal
understand
affairs.
that.
So when we go and if the call is about somebody who is truly incapacitated,
Right.
if the person's unwilling to let us in, or if there's a caregiver that is blocking the service or impeding upon the investigation, we could take a legal route to ensure that that those things get done so we can protect that individual. But if there's somebody who is capable and can make decisions, they can refuse our services if they so choose.
So the way I want to lead it is that you go out there and you talk with them and you open your investigation, and then there's follow-up for their safety.
Yes, of course.
And you let them know all that when you go to visit. And I think some people are probably grateful that you have entered. Yes? I mean, it's
so
like,
some people are.
I think you're a lifesaver.
Yes. I think what we do is very important, but
extremely important.
It's similar to how people might have a sentiment about child welfare. It's not something that they ask for normally. It's something that's imposed upon them, and so I think initially some people are wary of our involvement, but then once they realize that we're there to help, we're there to support, and we're there to bring people to safety. But we're getting involved with people where there are perpetrators involved, and those people are obviously never happy when we're involved. But a lot of times the senior who was at risk is grateful. But a lot of times, the people that we're dealing with are severely disabled and might not be aware of the type of situation that they were in.
Exactly. That's the key point right there. They're not aware of the situation that they're in because they don't really even know they're being abused.
Correct, yeah.
In whatever capacity. We see so many seniors living on their own. Everyone's living longer now. And the need for protection because the person who's living, you think the neighbor might be helping them. And a lot of people do good deeds.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Yep. But what we wanted our viewers to know about your service, that you are available, you're here to help them, and that you're going to be their friend.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the greatest thing about it.
We always work in the interest of the client. So whatever other people have an opinion about or what have you, we try to filter that out as much as we can. We really work towards what the client wants and what is it that their wishes are. Right. And that's our goal, is to maintain the integrity and the dignity of the client that we're working with.
And sometimes you're that first life link to them getting other services and bringing things in to assist them as well. So that's a great thing.
Yes.
Just so our viewer knows, this is Jessica Reyes, Director of Adult Protective Services for Monmouth and Middlesex Counties, Family and Children's Services, because we service Monmouth and Ocean counties.
Yes.
So, and our viewers typically are from that area. But we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back to Welcome to Scan and hear some more from Jessica Reyes.
Take it from me, living with diabetes is no easy task, but I learned how to manage my health condition, and so can you. The Diabetes Self-Management Program is a 6-week self-management workshop created by Stanford University. The program provides you with proven strategies to manage your diabetes and reclaim your life. You will join an interactive and mutually supportive workshop whose success builds confidence to effectively manage your diabetes and allows you to maintain an active lifestyle. See how proper nutrition, exercise, and medication management help you increase your energy, manage side effects, and keep you feeling in control. You will not only receive a copy of this book, but you will get guidance and support from others like you living with diabetes.
The Diabetes Self-Management Workshop meets once a week for 6 weeks. This innovative workshop is offered to all Monmouth County residents. Call the number on your screen to register or get additional information at scannj.org.
Hello, and welcome back to Welcome to Scan. I'm your host, Tracey Wolfman, and I am here today with Jessica Reyes, who is the Director of Adult Protective Services for Monmouth and Middlesex counties at Family and Children's Services. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Jessica has been telling us about Adult Protective Services and how they protect the seniors of, well, adults we discussed, 18 and above, who may be at risk and need their protection. So we just want to go back a little bit because we don't want people to be afraid to call Adult Protective Services. You're here to service them for anything that they might suspect as the different types of abuse.
Right.
So in the 110-year history of Family and Children's Services, which I was very excited to be able to celebrate that,
Yes.
How have the needs changed with Family and Children's Services and the impact that Adult Protective Services has had?
Yeah. So the senior population, 80 and older, is the fastest growing population in the country. And Monmouth County and Middlesex County are very populated with seniors. Middlesex County is actually number 3 most seniors in the state of New Jersey. And I think Monmouth is in the top 10 of the most seniors in the state. So that being said, more seniors that we have are also living much longer than they used to. So we have seniors that are living well into their 90s and even their hundreds at this point, which means that their caretakers are often seniors as well. So
That's a scary thing right now.
Yes, so we have a lot of people who are in their 70s and they're caring for their 90-year-old parents, and they have their own health issues and things that are going on. So the needs are becoming greater. In Monmouth County for 2019, we serviced 518 new clients.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And in Middlesex County, it was, I believe, 321 new clients. So that's a lot.
For
and that's
1 year.
For 1 year. And that's just new. So that's not all the existing cases
ones
that
that
we
you have.
already have open. So, so it's a lot of people that we're servicing. We have a small staff.
Right. And you said
yes.
new that you opened, so that means that it took
Yes.
people to open 500 new cases.
Yes, exactly, and we get even double the amount of calls. So out of referrals, it's about half of the referrals that we receive, we end up opening up the case. So when people call us, we determine if it's appropriate or not for our intervention. Like I said before, if it's not, we'll refer them out, but at least half of them are appropriate for us to
Open up a
investigate
case.
and to see, what's the situation and how we can intervene.
And I'm sure that your criteria for opening up a case, I mean, you look at everything and try and rule everything out. So
Right.
to have to open up that many cases, I mean, that really frightens me.
Yeah, yeah. So the criteria for Adult Protective Services is that the person must be living in the community. We don't investigate cases of people who are in hospitals or nursing homes or
Right.
group homes. They must be living in the community. They have to be 18 years or older, and they must be vulnerable by our statute. So that means they must be incapacitated physically or mentally and cannot advocate for themselves or provide themselves protection. So to think that that is how many people that are at risk is a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot more. And that's why it's good for our viewers to know of your services
Yeah.
so they can be aware who's going to be the protector.
Exactly.
And the difference between inpatient, because that's why we have the ombudsman.
Right?
So you're for the outside, they're for the inside.
Exactly.
What can individuals do to prevent abuse from happening for these at-risk people or what we think is at risk?
Yeah. So my biggest advice is if you are a senior and you don't have your power of attorney, your living will, all of those sort of documentations, to get those done as soon as you can and to make sure that the people that you charge with the responsibility of being your powers of attorney are willing and able and capable of actually doing those services for you.
Did you all hear that? Willing, able, and capable.
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a family member, but somebody that you trust that will, be there for you in your time of need. And having those can make a really big difference between
Absolutely.
somebody being able to make a decision for you once you've lost those abilities or not. if we get into a situation where somebody does not have a power of attorney, whatever, that means that we might have to file for a guardianship, and then you're going to have somebody from the state making those decisions for you.
Right.
And most people don't want that, I don't think. So we highly suggest that you get those paperwork filed away, that you do it with an attorney. You can print a power of attorney document on the internet and sign it off, which people do, but we highly suggest doing it with an attorney so that you have a third party who's independent that has that information and has worked with you and can attest to what your wishes are.
Right. And that's like one of the most important things. So you're saying seniors, make sure they get that. But I always encourage people, as I'm out speaking a lot myself, 40, 50, get these documents in order. You can always update them.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the ones that they print off the internet, because we have seen, and I'm going to refer this back to APS, is that they print them off. We don't know how legit they are.
Exactly.
And did the person really want this to happen? Because we know they're not right now.
Right, exactly.
So having the lawyer document that
Exactly.
and have it notarized and all of that good stuff to keep it
Exactly.
what we really know to be what your wishes are.
Right.
And I think a lot of people may not understand that. So always check, and you can check with Family and Children's Services to see, you know, they can get referrals for people that are legitimate who do that.
Yep. And also we highly suggest just staying active as much as you can, being in touch with people, because seniors can become isolated, and those are usually the people who are most at risk of being in a neglectful situation where they're not, people aren't checking in on them, or they're not communicating with others, so people aren't aware of what situations might be going on.
Right. So it's funny because SCAN was really developed to take care of the social community and keep these people 50 plus active as they age, to be that resource, because then we can refer out to APS, we can refer out to the Monmouth County Office on Aging, all these places, but you have to have your resource.
Right.
And that's where it all starts, I think, as getting quality, nice,
Yes.
real
Yes.
people. So how can some of our viewers spot abuse? I mean, they may have very nice people living next door. They don't know what goes on, as they always say, behind closed doors.
Right. So it is a lot of times, like I said, people who are isolated. So if you know somebody who's a senior and maybe, you know, they're widowed and their family doesn't live nearby, to be checking on them and seeing how they're doing. Ways to identify abuse would be, you know, if somebody has frequent injuries, a lot of visits to the ER, bruises, if somebody is fearful of other people, if there's somebody new in their life that might seem suspicious for one reason or another, that can be a red flag. For neglect purposes, if you know somebody is not going to their doctor or paying their bills or keeping up with their everyday health and you know, hygiene activities.
Right. Big sign.
Yes, that's a big sign. So if you notice that you have a family member or friend who their hygiene or personal care has really gone downhill, the way that they keep their house has gone downhill, those could be signs of neglect as well. And then if anybody, for exploitation, if you know, their bills aren't, if they're getting late notices on their bills, their rent's not being paid, or if they are seemingly unaware of any of their banking activity and somebody else is completely in charge that was not assigned a power of attorney, what have you, those could also be red flags as well.
Picking the person up once a week to take them to the bank.
Right,
is always,
right.
We had a case of a gentleman who, you know, they called him and said he won that lottery for $10,000 and he went to the bank, and it was very heartbreaking to have that. Where should people make these reports, and what should they expect if they make this report?
Sure. So you want to make the report in the county in which the person resides.
Okay.
So if the individual resides in Monmouth County, you're going to call Monmouth County APS. If your individual that you're concerned about lives in Burlington County, you're going to call Burlington County APS. So what you do is you make a call. We need to know the person's name and their address at the very least. If you have their phone number, that's great. Their date of birth, all their sort of basic information, that would be great. But it's also stuff that is happening in the current. So if something happened to somebody, 15 years ago, there's not too much we can do about that.
I'm sure you get calls like that
We do. Or if somebody is deceased, there's nothing we could do about that.
Right.
But if somebody is currently and actively subject to abuse, neglect, or exploitation, let us know what you think is going on, and the social worker who does the intake will ask a series of questions to, determine whether or not it's something that we would investigate or not. We normally don't go back to the referral source and let them know what's happening with the case, because everything that we do is very confidential.
Right, I'm sure.
And we would only do that if it was absolutely necessary to gather more information, but not necessarily tell them what our determination is with the case.
Right, because not their business.
Exactly.
Anyway, so we have Jessica Reyes here from Family and Children Adult Protective Services, and you are leading the way to protect all of our seniors in Monmouth and Middlesex County.
Yes.
Which is a wonderful thing, and we
Thank
thank
you.
you for that. Tell us some of the other things and interventions Family and Children's Services does, because it's been around for 110
Yeah.
years,
Yep.
serving our community,
Yep.
and we are blessed to have that service.
Yeah. In Monmouth County, we have a lot of services through our agency, so that help the senior population. One being our home care department, which APS we refer to very frequently. So if you need home care services, you need a home health aide, we have home health aides for you. Along with that, we have programs that could help lower the cost of the care that you might need through our county grants and our JACK program that we house at Family and Children's Service. So frequently we're making referrals to those programs so that our people in need could get lower cost home care. On top of that, we have a Rep Payee program, which can assist those who are unable to manage their own finances due to their mental disabilities. We refer to them as well if somebody
I know, it's
needs
so many
help.
programs.
Yeah, so many programs. And also we have our SHIP program, which helps seniors to apply for Medicare. And that's also an important one that we utilize as well.
Right, so they can either call, they can go online, or they can contact one of the intake people at Family and Children's Services.
Yes.
Because there's an array of services out there that you may not know about, and you could call just for informational purposes. Because I think the greatest thing is that people don't know that sometimes they get a reduced or no cost care.
Right, exactly.
If they don't have the funds to do that.
Exactly.
And then they get all connections, whether it be Meals on Wheels, how they can get medical care and things like that. And we have Adult Protective Services.
Right, exactly.
So just to close up here, I mean, you're open Monday through Friday.
Yes. Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. We're not an emergency response service,
Right.
so if you think somebody is in a critical emergency situation, please call 911 and have the police and EMS go out and check. But if you believe that somebody is an ongoing, neglect or abusive situation, let us know, and then we'll go out within 24 or 72 business hours, depending on the severity of the call.
Very good. Jessica, thank you so much for being
Yeah,
on our
thank you
show
for
today.
having me.
I want to thank our viewers for watching. Again, Jessica Reyes from Family and Children's Services, Adult Protective Services. I'm your host, Tracey Wolfman, and thank you for watching Welcome to SCAN.